Donald Trump has continued his nationwide super spreader tour, getting all of his most devoted servants in rooms so that they can infect each other with a fatal illness, while he regales them with commentary about the pandemic like this.
The disease, we didn't know it. Now we know it. It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. You know, in some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system, but it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing.
It affects virtually nobody. It affects virtually nobody. Let's take a look at a recent headline, because I expected that if it affects virtually nobody, I would Google and I would see that it killed like 20 people or something like that. But it turns out no, it's killed more than 200,000 people. Killed a family member of mine. Can't even tell you how many millions of people have had it. I mean, how many millions of people thankfully survived the extended stays in hospitals and now have a lifetime of organ damage to deal with. That's going to be great. And there's apparently some neurological issues that it causes too. That's going to be fun for the rest of a lot of people's lives. But it affects virtually nobody. Virtually nobody. And his crowd cheers. Doesn't matter that he's failed worse on this than any president in our lifetime has failed on any challenge in our lifetime. They will cheer as he mocks the idea that people have been affected by this.
Well, it really just takes a special kind of person in not the right way, in not a good way, to speak about people, 200,000 people who've died, and he knows the figure, but it just doesn't like emotionally register with him to speak about people like that in that callous way. He can't understand what it means to lose someone that he cares about in that way, and it be a direct result of public policy. He's grown up incredibly rich and entitled and immune from a lot of the consequences of public policy for his entire life. And so it doesn't register with someone with that kind of a personality disorder, and with someone who is so privileged and cannot see outside their own perspective. It's jarring. And it's jarring to see people who did not have that upbringing respond to it. It's very enraging.
Yeah, it is. And, like I tweeted about how it had affected me. And a lot of people responded. There were photos that people tweeted in response through glass because they had to say goodbye to a loved one who was dying and they couldn't even be near them. A lot of people can't even get in the hospitals. I'm not even going to say. But yeah, my family member that died, his wife couldn't see him for the weeks that he spent in the hospital, and he died. Couldn't see him for weeks. That's how horrendous this pandemic is. Doesn't affect virtually anybody. And he seemed to get that, by the way, with a little Freudian slip in his commentary. He said, if you recall, in some states, thousands of people and no young. Thousands of people what? Thousands of people what and no young? What happened to those thousands of people? We know what you were going to say. Thousands of people died and no young. But it affects virtually nobody, except perhaps those thousands of people. The 10 to 15,000 people in Florida and in California and in Texas, whole communities dead, stadiums packed with corpses. It affects virtually nobody. And the election is still kind of maybe a toss-up. That this guy not only gets to fail, not only leaves, a trail of death in his wake, the domestic likes of which we haven't seen. Obviously, we've had presidents who have gone abroad and killed hundreds of thousands of people, and America generally cares very little about that. But we don't even care when the bodies are piled up here. We're inoculated against caring about any consequence. His base loves him as much, if not more, than they did before the pandemic. Even though they know what he really thinks. He says yesterday or 2 days ago, it doesn't affect the young. Told Bob Woodward in March, now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. But just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older. He said that months ago. But what's the difference? That's inconvenient. Forget it. Set it to the side. It's whatever I want it to be now. Even if Trump told me the exact opposite, it's more convenient. It's more comfortable to pretend that it's only old people. That strategy, by the way, of going out on the campaign trail and saying, this thing I've surrendered to just kills old people, isn't really hurting him in the polls. Fascinating democracy we have. Great society we have here in America.
What do we do when material conditions, mass death, an unemployment crisis, a new depression economically? What do we do when that doesn't register with a massive proportion of our population as connected to the leadership and the political consequences of voting for someone in this country? What do we do? That's why he's leaning into culture war stuff, because he's cynically banking on the fact that the Democrats have refused to make their own case, and that policy has not been driven home for people. They can't see the connection between who is leading the country and what's happening to them economically and with COVID-19. I'm not saying that that's a majority of the country, but it could be close to half. And that's what scares me about this election, is that the cynicism, the breakdown of our democracy has been so thorough that people can't see straight anymore. The water has been too muddied. They can't see, partly because Democrats don't make their own case, but partly because we've corrupted the entire system. And someone like Trump has muddied the waters effectively enough and blown everything up enough that, what do you do when facts don't matter, the differences can't be delineated, and it's too murky for regular people to see? I don't know. I mean,
I guess you do the exact same thing that. No, continue.
Sorry, just quickly. I've had conversations with people who are kind of apolitical, like don't pay a ton of attention, and they're like, "Well, what could he have done differently? I mean, what are you going to do? It's a pandemic." Like, that's a regular thing for people that don't pay attention to politics.
Yeah, and then that crowd, that massive crowd of people jammed in there without masks, except the people directly behind Trump that are forced to. Like, think about if you're in that crowd and you look at Trump, and past Trump, you see that they have forced the people behind him to put on masks. What is all of that, all the signals that that's sending? The fact that they supposedly give masks to everyone in there, but don't actually ask them to put them on. All of this. Yeah, we are a failed state in so many ways. We are a broken people in so many ways. And a lot of the ways that we're broken are not new. They just haven't been as directly activated on a daily basis by, a president like Donald Trump. We do exactly what we would do if none of these things were true, but it's much, much harder to sustain. Yeah, and like I say a lot, I said something to this effect yesterday with Francesca. I'm gonna keep it real. There is a countdown on how long I can continue doing this, and the thing that makes it not tick faster is people like Emma being involved in this, because it's too much to do if you're alone. And when you're facing enemies on literally all sides, and you're being stabbed in the back as you're being stabbed in the chest, you need to collect the right people. And so thank you, Emma, for making this slightly more tolerable.
Well, John, I feel the exact same way about you. So, but right, our mental health, we're killing it right now in this pandemic. No, I just mean it. I know everyone's mental health is really struggling, but it is hard to consume the news on this frequency. And yeah, I feel you, John. I totally do.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.